In respect for Lincoln County Health, I would very strongly recommend, because I'm hearing right now that this board, this task force is headed towards, frankly, trying to, as its first objective, to try and save St. Andrews, which is that. But I've also heard, too, that we have pretty much a fait accompli, and now we're going to have some community involvement after admitting that it didn't go so well before the decision was made. From a simply strategic standpoint, I very strongly recommend that while you're doing that, and I encourage you to do it personally, that we also look at the community hospital district as a route, because that may be your only clout factor in dealing with Lincoln County.
I can walk and chew gum at the same time. Yes.
Okay. We need to look at more than one option at the same time. We need to have 2 or 3 routes going, because not everything's going to work. And we need to have other options that will be viable if routes stop. Skip.
I'm Skip Humphrey. I'm from Booth Bay. I taught a lot of you in school, and I did some digging. And I found out that the Gregory family gave the hospital and its property to the town, and that there is an addendum to that it can never be used for anything except a medical facility. So if somebody had plans of making it into a hotel, that
would have to be a medical hotel.
But they just comment about how much money it costs to have the emergency ward. I almost lost a member of my family, and the emergency ward saved my family's life. How much is that worth?
Amen, brother.
I'm sorry, the money should not come into it. And there's a misconception in this town that I'd like to clear up, that you have to go to Miles if there's something wrong. You do not have to go to Miles Hospital. You can take yourself, or your family can take you down to Mid-Coast, or you can have your doctor arrange you appointments at Mid-Coast, or you can ask the ambulance to take you to Mid-Coast. I have done that. It is a wonderful hospital. So if you're under the misconception that you have to go to Miles Hospital, that is wrong.
However, if you're sick enough in the emergency room and the doctor says to you, well, we're going to send you up to Miles, you're likely to say something like, go ahead, I don't care, I'm too sick to argue.
I'm just saying you have a choice, because the misconception is that you have no choice.
Yes, I was once in the emergency room. Fortunately, because of my profession, they asked me where did I want to go. And I said, who's on call? And when I was told who the cardiologist on call at Mid-Coast was, I said, Mid-Coast, because Mid-Coast has cardiologists.
One of the discussion topics that we had earlier today, and my biggest concern in this whole discussion, is that some of the obstacles that Lincoln County Healthcare has brought up, money and training and the rural aspect and the changes to healthcare federally through the state, those are not unique to Lincoln County Healthcare. And emergency services, if they're going to be held to the same standards as surgical and other medical services, they're always going to be second. You're not going to make any money in emergency medicine. We want our emergency doctors, we want our firefighters, our policemen to sit on their hands 95% of the time. That means that things are running well. And I'm scared at the direction this is going to bring emergency medicine. And we have to be the first guinea pigs. So.
Now, one of the other things, just for the emergency room docs, being here where it is quieter, may actually help improve their skills. One of the great problems in this profession is time to read, time to keep up with the literature, time for doing research and checking things, learning new things. If you have a peaceful, quiet night in the St. Andrews emergency room in February, you can sit there playing Minesweeper on your computer, or you can read. And it would be very nice sometimes. It's a problem all doctors have. You're so busy doing what you have to do that you don't have time to do what you'd like to do, which a lot of times is research things. So it might be a silver lining to some extent, but you have to accept that you have to drive down here to do it. I suspect part of the problem is that the ER docs would much rather be closer to home. They don't want to drive down here on a nasty snowy night. And this is just my personal opinion, you understand. They don't want to drive down here on a nasty, ugly, snowy night. Who wants to?
I'd like to say I appreciate everybody's comments and your concerns, and trust me when I tell you that the four of us share those concerns as well. I really don't mean to cut back on the public comment, but I really need to get the board back on task for our goals for tonight.
Sorry.
Otherwise, no, please don't be sorry. But if we don't get our objectives together,
Yep.
we won't be able to get any work accomplished either.
Can I recommend that we move on to, on my memo, today's meeting, to B, to secure a lawyer?
Yes.
In your packets, we have a lawyer that we've had engagement in. We want to make sure that there's no conflicts, which is the first thing you do before you engage a lawyer. So from Kozak and Gayer from Augusta, we had some conversation with Julius Sombranowitz. We were looking for a lawyer that had a worse last name than mine, and we found one.
Ding, 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 ding.
He's already cleared himself of any conflict. He said he has time, resources. We have a conference call set up for tomorrow morning. If this task force gives us permission, we can sign a letter of intent and get him in here and start looking at some basic documents. The conversation that we had today is after he starts looking at what our case is, he can start telling us what our options are. In a complex situation, any complex situation, the first thing you want to do is retain a lawyer, figure out what your options are. I think their law firm specializes in healthcare law. So this is why I brought this to your attention.
Could you say his name again or spell it?
I can't spell it. I can try to say it. It's Julius Sombranowitz. I will spell it, but it'll take a while. CIEMBRONIEWICZ. Say it 3 times fast.
Do the tail end again, please.
One more time from the beginning. CIEMBRONIEWICZ. Julius Sombranowitz.
Heretofore known as JC.
I've been calling him Julius.
Bruce, do you have some information?
Yeah, when I talked with Mayo Hospital, they suggested that if you're looking at people who have experience with smaller hospitals, it's Strivewater Associates in Portland. I don't know whether they have the kind of help that this board is looking for, but his name is Brian Haapala, Haapala. Might be somebody that Jim or somebody might contact and say, here's what we're doing, how could you help us? Just information.
Thank you, Bruce.
We've had other attorneys that are trying to look and see if they can offer some pro bono help. This one we've actually been pretty covert in trying to obtain.
I have no issue with allowing him to contact this gentleman.
No, and I'm assuming that when you talk to this gentleman, you also discuss what it's going to cost us.
Yeah, that's probably in my email right now is a letter of agreement, which we're going to discuss. Discuss the amount that it's going to cost, and right now we're thinking a few hours of his expertise to figure out what the initial options are, and then if we have time, I'd like to bring him back for Tuesday's meeting to explain what he initially sees. I think it's a good investment of our resources. Right now the account is empty, but we know that we will have $3,000 donated shortly. We know that's enough to pay for this, for his time, his immediate time.
Should we make that an official motion?
I would recommend yes.
I would move that we accept JC.
Second. I just have a question.
Okay.
Jim, have you talked to any other lawyers, or this is the only one?
We've talked to a few lawyers, and honestly, we've had to tap some local resources that understand healthcare law, and this was the highest, a very recommended lawyer. We decided not to go with our own internal legal counsel because they're mostly municipal law and land use law. We wanted somebody to specialize in healthcare law.
I'm just thinking, when you price things out, you want a couple different options. Did you get prices from any of the other lawyers? I just want to make sure that we use our funds, the limited funds.
No, we focused on healthcare law, which there's only a few, and lots of them have conflict because there's representation with Maine Health.
Okay.
It was hard to find someone that did healthcare law that wasn't somehow had a conflict with Maine Health.
Okay.
We have a motion second on the floor to have Jim contact Julius Sembronowitz from Kozak and Geyer, PA. All those in favor? Motion passes.
We'll get them to work immediately. I have a 12 o'clock phone conference with them, and we'll discuss. Because I've already been receiving a lot of the documentation that we've been sending his way. The next thing that I put on my memo is I think that we need to specifically have task force work group members that are assigned to work with Lincoln County Healthcare. Lincoln County Healthcare says that they want to engage the community. Let's give them the opportunity, and let's find some people that are interested in working on that on the 4 towns' behalf. We started to work on skill sets and people that might be interested in that. But that's one of my thoughts and I'm not sure I'm not sure that the task force representatives will have that kind of time. Maybe it's something that you ask somebody to do.
And based on that, I know that Freddie has volunteered to come in and put everything together into a spreadsheet for you. I'm going to recommend that we allow digital quorums with our task force, because there may be some things that we need to take care of before our next meeting. And if we can agree electronically, then we can have Jim take care of it.
I have no problem with that.
Now, with digital quorums, this is something I always tell my board, is that we will keep very strict accountability of any correspondence that happens digitally, and then we'll share it with the press, so that there is absolutely no question of the discussion that's happened digitally.
And I hope people understand why we're doing this, because from a time point of view, to try to get everybody together, we can move this thing forward a little quicker.
And just to restate, what they're discussing is we're gonna have discussions via email, reply all, which I tell my board members never to do. But in this instance, we'll just make sure that all of that correspondence is readily available in public. Matter of fact, I'll probably print off the correspondence and put it in the front of the town office, so if anybody wants to look through it, it's available.
Could you establish a policy that every email between the board members goes to you, and then that you copy it, because email decisions that get made in the dark become immediately suspect?
Any email amongst this task force board will
Yeah,
also
about
have Jim.
these issues.
We'll also have Jim copied on it.
And have it printed off. So
He will be the conduit.
Yeah.
And
As a
it'll be
facilitator,
available
he-
at the town office upon request.
And then I'll make them available at the town office, and we'll figure out a method. I'm not sure what that is right now, to make them available at all 4 town offices. I'll have to discuss that with the other towns.
There is a Google mailing list that was established and momentarily was unestablished today and is supposedly back in business, which I would urge that you consider posting this stuff too.
If we have somebody in our group that is fluent with that Google method, maybe it would be easier if I attached them to correspondence that is then being through.
Yeah.
Because then everybody has that access. So if anybody has that skill set, would like to offer it up, that would be as easy as to attaching that person to the correspondence, and then it gets to the digital world. And then I always tell our elected officials that that's all over the place. So Be aware. If you have that skill set and you're not readily available to discuss it, see me later. We'll work that out. All right. So we're back on to, I guess, do we have people that we want to ask to work closely with Lincoln County Healthcare? And maybe Lincoln County Healthcare is already duplicating this process.
Well, one of the things that we talked about today was we want a community advisory committee, board, whatever, and so we weren't sure what was going to happen tonight, and we don't want to duplicate efforts, so however that worked itself out is fine with us.
I think it's probably best if we send people to them rather than trying to solicit themselves.
I think we have the interested people in the room.
Or at least in the room, or have given us notice that they're interested because they couldn't be here tonight.
That's right. There's a lot of people that told me that they couldn't be here tonight. And I know a lot of people watching it on Channel 7 tonight. So to those people that want to get involved too, they know how to get a hold of me, town manager at townbluespay.org, or right here, 633-2051. Do you want to assign people, or do we want to just solicit volunteers over the next few days to put together with the task force? Once again, I know we have lots of people with good intentions, but we do need to select the people that are giving us the best opportunity to succeed.
My thought, Jim, is we need to take a look at the list and see what the skill sets are, and we want a diverse group that would work with Lincoln County Health. We don't want to send one segment of our skill set just to deal with them. We need to split it up a little bit. That's just my thought.
You know, I'm also vice chair of Lincoln County Planning Commission, and I see Mary Ellen Barnes standing right back there. So I'm sure we'll have some resources we can apply to this as well. And they're
Mary Ellen, do you have resources and time to?
Time, yeah, that's an interesting thing. I think that you have got a lot of threads or paths that you're creating tonight, so my question, I guess, is whether by the end of the evening you're going to have an outline, skeleton outline of all the different things you're going to be looking for, because we could help you with some information that maybe Lincoln County Healthcare doesn't have, or even put it into table form or map form or things like that. So we could be useful on the resource end, and maybe some other research that we've been starting to do. It's not an infinite amount of time, but we'll see. But I'm interested to know whether you're actually identifying the decision points in the paths that you need to be on, both with respect to the St. Andrews and then Bruce's idea and then everything in between.
Yeah, it is a bit scary how many different directions we could go in right now.
Yeah, but definitely,
With that said, though, I'm really happy how far we've come in such a short amount of time. I'm really excited that we're moving this in the right direction. I feel good that we've got good people interested in and want to help solve this problem. So, yeah, we've got a lot of things out there, but we're getting there.
I think that the other thing that we need to be working on is preparing Boothbay Region Ambulance Service for what could be an inevitable April change in the scope of work. And I keep looking at Steve, and I know he's like trying not to look at it. But I also know that the president of Boothbay Region Ambulance Service isn't here tonight, so I would want to know what can the task group and Lincoln County Healthcare do right now to help prepare Boothbay Region Ambulance Service. Because that's, I mean, if nothing else happens, Boothbay Region Ambulance Service has to respond.
You become our lifeline.
That's probably daunting.
I can speak to Robbie and Scott Lash, our operations manager, has been meeting with Lincoln County Healthcare for the last month and a half, 6 or 8 weeks, to try to, try to plan. I purposely tried to stay out of the meetings to not cross the two, but I do know that there is planning. Budget-wise, it still remains to be seen. We have not come up with a budget number to know what it's going to cost us extra. We know it's going to cost us more money. The discussion we had today was St. Andrews has offered resources yet to be determined, I guess, because they haven't been given it over. Other than that, I can't tell you what else. You know, we just bought a new ambulance. We took took delivery of it rather quickly compared to normally, like we normally would order one, and it takes 9, 10, 11 months to get. We found one that was brand new, loaner brand new, I should say, with, I think it had 8,000 miles on it, so we bought it at a discount. So we have 4 trucks. We was going to get rid of one, we didn't. We kept the old truck. It's got 150,000 miles, but in an emergency, I'd rather have a truck that runs with 150,000 miles in that. So we are planning. They are working with Lincoln County. Personally, I would recommend that you ask for someone from the ambulance service, not me, to come to your meetings.
Yeah. And I offered to Scott that he could, that we wanted him part of this. I think I invited probably about everybody who was on the peninsula. I guess most of them. So we have, I'm going to try to hold us to that 2 hours.
Amen.
It's been a long day. Let's start recapping. What are the things that we need to do? And I'm just going to keep track on the whiteboard so that everybody can see. The first thing is you've given me permission to speak to Lincoln County Healthcare.
Amen.
About the 6-month stay.
Absolutely. Top of the list.
And we're optimistic that that's probably one of the first things that we can try to accomplish.
Which would increase the deadline from April of 2013 to October of 2013.
Right. What's our second action item? And I'm sorry if I'm getting a little...
Nope, you're doing fine.
Our second action item probably is our attorney.
Lawyer.
Contact our attorney.
1A.
Look at that.
There you go, baby.
Those are probably two very good action items, top of the list items. Not going to take us a tremendous amount of time though. So
Probably more like 1 and 1A. So.
Yeah.
I like that. Symbolism. No, I like that. Is that 1A and 1B?
You've also requested some information from Lincoln County Health.
Follow up on our information requests. Now,
Stacy, would you like Jim to put that in letter form so you guys know? Okay.
Send us an email this afternoon.
Okay.
look at that, quick.
Damn, you're fast.
I'm going to need help going through that. If we're going to have any semblance of the timeline, there's no way I can go through the amount of information that I
We
requested.
have offered to just go with you.
Right, and it's nice to have, but I'd also like to have people there to help us. I think if it's the Booth Bay Town Manager and Lincoln County Healthcare, it doesn't bring any credibility to the discussion. So I want to bring.
Do you know when you're looking at potentially doing that?
I don't know. I think that's a good follow-up. When do we have this information next week? What's the expectation about that?
Oh, we hope to get it together tomorrow.
Oh, nice. I like that.
And since you'll have the list of volunteers sometime tomorrow, we can take a look at that and see if we can...
Skill set inventory tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll have their skill set inventory tomorrow. That's good. So if you're interested in combing through financials, that's one of the things that the profit and loss statements. We're gonna need people to go through those items with me. I love numbers and cents, but when they apply to town business, so I'll be looking for people that want to help.
Ham? Something you might be able to help with?
Sure. I'm also interested in Bruce's.
I know you are.
Plan B. You have a state legislator.
But this is immediate stuff.
I think you ought to take a look.
You ought to introduce yourself, let people know who you
I'm
are.
sorry, Ham Reserve from Southport. And I think you should take advantage of Bruce's offer to pursue a different plan.
100%.
Well, it's already...
We're getting there. First things first, we gotta walk before we run.
Yeah, we're not going to eliminate anything, Ham. We're going to look at all options.
So the information that we asked from Lincoln County Healthcare is profit and loss statements for 10 years, and I just picked 10 years. From St. Andrews, Miles, Lincoln County Healthcare, and Maine Health, and I don't know how easy it is to get Maine Health.
We probably won't be able to get Maine Health, but we can try. I
Can
mean,
you-
we won't be able to get it tomorrow.
Point me into the right direction to get that information, that would be helpful. Organizational structure documents, including bylaws and articles of incorporation from St. Andrews, Miles, Lincoln County Healthcare, and Maine Health. The scope of service request given to Navigant, the consultant that they hired to do the bulk of the work that was just discussed recently. And then the report submitted by Navigant to Lincoln County Healthcare or Maine Health. We want to see that information. So that's what we're going to have to look at. Think about if that appeals to something that you'd like to help take apart.
Mike?
May we also request meeting minutes of the 5 boards mentioned for the last 5 years as well?
I have asked. I'll go back and ask again, but I'm still not
in mitigating this, I tend to volunteer to review documents.
I'm going to write that down.
Get that in ink, brother.
I think 501c3 is, the records are retrievable through state and federal agencies.
I would think that probably are.
Stacy, would it be possible to get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that we were showing July 31?
Yeah, I will talk.
That's on my list of things
Okay.
too. I asked for the report, but I guess it is the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
But if any other portions of that report,
I'm going to take back that we can get this all done by tomorrow. We can get some of it done tomorrow.
No,
But
that's-
keep at it.
I understand. I mean, it's not like we come it over in 12 hours anyway. So, other things that need to be on our hit list.
Jim, once we get the skill set summarized, inventoried, I mean, we'll want to split maybe into committees. And I was taking notes about what kind of committees we might have.
Yep.
So I was thinking one for exploring with Bruce the community hospital.
Can I just get us to reword committee into work groups?
Work groups.
Because committee implies that we're going to appoint these members.
Yes, work groups. Another work group for ambulance needs, an ambulance liaison.
Yeah.
Another one for the Lincoln County Healthcare Transition Team that we'll send to Lincoln County. And I put one on the list, maybe one working with Mary Ellen on transportation upgrades with Maine Department of Transportation.
I like it.
Other work groups, because that's probably going to be the biggest topic of discussion at the next meeting is who do we have and who's going to work on those work groups and start getting moving. Maybe talking to Julius points us in a better direction on those work groups too.
Right.
Maybe one of them jumps out a little bit more clear.
But at some point, even though the ladies that are here tonight think that this can't be changed, I'd like to sit down with Lincoln County Health.
100%.
Discuss what could be done to avoid the shutdown of the ER.
One of the things we talked to Jim about is this task force we assumed would be our liaison, and that obviously there's a lot of education that needs to happen. We need to show you what information we had, et cetera. So we assumed that it would be you guys and not just town.
Good. I'd like to do that.
Yeah, I think that's.
What are you doing tomorrow?
Well, we're getting some of the information together, but we can clear us, well, in the afternoon we can get together. So,
What are you guys doing tomorrow? I want to move this thing.
I'm with you, Scott.
Anytime after 4:30 is good.
I'm off tomorrow.
So am I.
I talked to the lawyer first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to have this conversation with our lawyer first.
Okay.
we're gonna do that at noon time, so.
Oh, we're going to have an initiation discussion with our lawyer, and then he's going to put in some hours in the next week. So I'm hoping that he can recap what he finds by Tuesday. That's what I'm going to tell him I expect, but we'll see. That's a short time frame for a lawyer. Any lawyers in the house?
Thank you. I was just going to suggest in addition, I like these work groups, but one of the things we haven't talked about tonight is the economic impact of all of this on the community. Loss of 50 jobs, and you know, I realize some may be saved, but the economic impact is something that we ought to be looking at and discussing in this task force, I think, and getting a read on what that might be as best we can. So I hope you'll have a subgroup that's looking at the economic impact of this decision.
Well, we're going to save them, so it's not going to be an issue.
What's that?
We're going to save those jobs, so it's not going to be an issue.
Well, I hope so.
We're collecting a little bit of information now and trying to design a little bit of a study, so I'll be able to report more, whether it's next week or the week after.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think Lincoln County Government Plan is going to be really valuable in that role. And everybody's heard my sob story. My first day of public management was the day the mill closed in Livermore Falls. So I know a little something about losing jobs and economic development impacts. And this is not at that magnitude, but it has a trickle-down effect. And we want to know exactly what that is.
Yes, ma'am.
Patty Siebold from Booth Bay. I'm wondering whether it belongs separately on the list or whether it's part of the community hospital thing, but at some point it seems to me we should have a vision of what we actually want. So we know what we had, and we're talking about taking two parallel paths to explore alternatives, but isn't this also a great opportunity to kind of step back and say, well, what should healthcare look like on the Booth Bay Peninsula? And I'm not sure where that fits here, and which of those work groups.
Well, we know from this letter that Lincoln County Healthcare sent out, and St. Andrews Hospital and Healthcare Center sent out, that the three things that we're losing as of 4/2/2013 is the emergency room, skilled nursing beds, and one thing that we've already lost, suspended in March 2012, is the operating room.
Right.
You have also lost acute care beds 2 years ago. I believe cardiopulmonary services will no longer be offered at St. Andrews, such as EKGs, possibly, but no more stress tests. Even just an exercise stress test, St. Andrews never did nuclear stress tests. I don't know what other services they didn't think to mention that are going away. But having lost the acute care beds, supposedly at that time, all the acute care cases would go to Miles and all the skilled nursing cases would come down to St. Andrews. But at that time, I was still admitting patients to St. Andrews for skilled nursing, and I admitted several who, several days later, when a bed opened at Cove's Edge, decided they wanted to go back to Damascotta to be near their families, which is a perfectly valid wish. But the people from the Booth Bay region didn't get the choice as to whether to be admitted down here so that they could be near their families for acute care. Right. And if St. Andrews is being underutilized, that could be part of the reason, because all of the skilled nursing patients aren't coming down here. They don't want to. Fine, that's, like I said, it's perfectly valid. But it certainly was a flaw in the planning at the time, unless it was anticipated and just not mentioned. But I think we need to do more investigation as to what services really will be going away.
Brian, then Skip, and then back to Jim.
My name is Brian Bluffton. I live in Booth Bay, and I just first off want to thank you folks for your leadership in the community and being engaged in this discussion. I think it's commendable. Certainly want to thank Stacy and Cindy for walking in here with broad shoulders and engaging you folks in this discussion. But just to follow up on what Representative McDonald said as far as economic impact, and then sort of what was mentioned over here about shopping for healthcare services down at Midcoast, I would encourage our community to continue to seek our healthcare services here at Lincoln County Healthcare, because if we want it to continue and to prosper, to be available to us in some form or another, we need to to support those services and use those services here. So just like we have to, participate and support our towns and our schools and our Ys and everything else that we support and shop and utilize down here, I don't think we want to be too short-sighted and start going elsewhere, shopping at Walmart instead of shopping your local Hannaford, and all the other examples you can use. So I just want to encourage our community to continue to try to work with the healthcare system that we have and the direction it's going in the future.
Brian, that is an excellent point. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Skip.
I have a basic question. Is there a government minimum or maximum, must be minimum, of what an emergency board has to be? Or is this just Lincoln County Healthcare telling us what it has to be? We used to have one here. When I was a kid, there was one here. I don't know that it had all the emergency ability that it has now. Is there a government minimum that you have to meet, or you can't have one?
There are licensing regulations. To be a hospital, you have to have a 24/7 emergency department that's staffed, and you have to be able to accept ambulance traffic. So there are minimum requirements for emergency departments and state licensing for both critical access and DPS hospitals.
Yeah, once they close that ER in April, if it were to happen, and it becomes an urgent care facility, ambulance can no longer go there. They do not have the option. You could break your ankle down at the tennis courts, and they're going to drive right by St. Andrews to take you elsewhere, because we will no longer be a licensed hospital. It'll be an urgent care facility. You can drive in and you'll still get the same services you're getting now, but an ambulance cannot take you there. Well, in theory, you're going to get the same emergency care that you get now, in theory. Well,
as long as it's before 8 o'clock.
From 8 to
Right,
6.
in a time frame.
Right.
Jim? We're under half hours.
What Brian Levin said was completely accurate, and I told Stacy and Cindy, right? Cindy, right? I keep going for Miss Levitt, but Cindy.
That's good.
I had written a letter to the editor that I never sent that says that, if we have a knee-jerk reaction, stop using those services, it's only going to compound the problem. The reason why I didn't send it is honestly because my message to Maine Health, which would get more press coverage than I ever thought I would get, was that this is what you're about to face is a very scorned Booth Bay area, and that I understand that you would probably never build a hospital on the end of a peninsula. It doesn't make a lot of logistical sense. And then I'm sure that there's, current healthcare trends are horrible. But the uphill battle of making this decision and then engaging the public is going to be brutal. And, I would take this opportunity to say, if Maine Health is watching, I was right. This is not comfortable for anybody. And, this may be, I hope that this is the message that goes to Lincoln County Healthcare trustees and Maine Health to say, give us 6 more months. Really give us some time to figure this out. And 6 months is a small amount of time to ask for, because 6 months combined with the 9 months that we already have is probably still not enough time to address all of the things that we need to address.
And
So
I'm pretty sure what we said today was we are willing to engage our CEO, our task force in that conversation. So if we heard you, we heard you loud and clear.
Yeah, they'll talk.
it needs to be said again.
And we will continue to say that we know this is an uphill battle. We are completely committed to healthcare services in this community. I think Brian's absolutely right that if we have a volume issue here, Bruce talks about a population of 6,000 compared to a population in Dover of 17,000. That is a significant difference. The problem for us today is volume. People are leaving this peninsula to secure their services elsewhere. You start using these facilities, we would like nothing better than for them to be at complete capacity. So
Then
we
why-
hear you, we are willing to engage, we accept responsibility for what we did wrong, and we're willing to move forward, and that's what we want to do. What you
Bruce?
Yeah, I just can't let it be left unsaid. It's not 6,000, it's 7,000, close to that permanent. And it's, the seasonal population here is extraordinarily important in our calculations, I think, and in all sorts of ways. So it isn't just 6,000 versus 17,000.
Do we know what the summer population is?
Jim has estimated it quadruples our resident population, but I just use triple as a more conservative number. But anyway, I guess the issue is that as all of this goes forward, please don't take the answers that are coming from St. Andrews as the answers. I respect them, I respect the trustees, I think they're good people, compassionate people. I just think they went down a wrong path. They've been going down a wrong path, and it's a path that American healthcare is going down. There are other alternatives, and we should look at them, and I hope some people will help me do it. I don't have the time to do it myself, but we could look at what the ERs do in Dover Foxcroft and in Jackman, and we could look at what they do and how does that work and how are they making it work with the small numbers they have, and come back and talk about that, you know, and we can look at how they're governed and see how that might be different in the future with a different kind of hospital. So we have to listen to St. Andrews. They're historically our base, but let's also take a look, a good hard look at some alternatives.
Jim?
I
have something else?
I had nothing else. I expended everything I thought in that one sentiment.
Can I say one thing?
This is his. I'm sorry.
I would like to.
Identify yourself. Yes, please.
My name is Shirley James, and I live in East Bay Cottage.
Nice and loud so everybody can hear you.
I would just like to have all the members of that Lincoln County Board come to a meeting with us and answer the questions that we have for them. You know, I feel, the truth is we don't trust them. So how can you ask us to go on what they're saying? I think it's a good idea to extend the time, if they will. But
Ms. Jacobson, trust us. Trust us.
I do, but I don't trust them.
Trust us. And trust us to make sure that they can be trustworthy.
That's right.
Well, I just want you to know what you're dealing with.
I think we do.
We can, if the task force members are okay with it, we can extend an invitation. I mean, if I was a Lincoln County Healthcare Board of Trustee member, I probably would attend, but we can offer that.
Well, I think between Cindy and I and you, we can see what we can come up with council with this task force. I mean, this task force is what's being entrusted with the community's trust. I think that we can work something out, and I think we should. As I said, I don't think it should be just you. I think it should be this task force as the representation of this town.
All in favor of it?
So that would be my suggestion.
I want to say something about economics. It's very important to understand that the responsibility of the trustees of Lincoln County Healthcare is specifically the income and outgo of the organization that they are trustees of.
Absolutely.
They have no interest in whether or not nobody moves here because there's a hospital. It's of no consequence to them. That's an important aspect.
I agree, I understand.
Well, I think you could ask them that question, so I'm not certain we agree with that.
June?
My mind is drifting back to the comment on the actual gift of the facility to the town and the stipulations. And I think that's one of the first things that maybe the lawyer probably would have comment on is what constitutes a hospital facility. If you can't get accreditation, how can you consider a facility as a hospital? And
I believe what Skip
Nancy's-
said, I believe what Skip said though was a medical facility. I believe that's what you said, Skip, that you had found
Those are the words that were told me.
as a medical facility.
Medical facility.
And Attorney Sombranowitz said it was pretty good. It's attorney talk though, so he probably just spit it out. Said, you know, we're going to take the 30,000 foot look down at this, and he's going to start way up here, and that's going to be
But you
base
gotta look
documents.
at that anyhow.
Yeah,
Amen.
I think that's going to be base documents and then get us focused. Those will be the first things we want to do. We want to narrow the scope as fast as possible. But right now the scope is huge, and we need to get down to what is a reasonable scope. You know, and if we address the 6-month stay and get our attorney on and get the information that we have going, it's going to start becoming clear what our options are. And if the emergency department is not salvageable with Lincoln County Healthcare, and that is the direction that the task force members want to go in, then I think that makes a pretty strong point as what direction we have to go, and we have to go in a different avenue. And maybe that's Representative McDonald's avenue. I don't know. I don't think anybody's saying they do know now. I think they're saying it is potential.
If I misspoke, I'm sorry. I would first and foremost say to everybody, use St. Andrews first. What I said after that means if it's not here and not available, you have a choice as to where you go.
Well, if you don't use St. Andrews
Right.
services, then it doesn't matter what we were
Right,
working
yes,
Right.
use St. Andrews first.
You know, getting to this PowerPoint presentation, I heard the PowerPoint presentation. I heard statistics and I heard money. But nowhere in it did I hear the purpose of a healthcare facility, which is to serve the community and the people in it.
Well, I agree with you, sir, because I saw, I think, the same PowerPoint presentation. What I will say that Jim Donovan represented that night was that he represented healthcare for all of Lincoln County, not just our region. That's what he's hanging his hat on, that he's looking at the overview of everything, and that this is what's best for all of Lincoln County. Obviously, we in this room might take a little umbrage with that. And we're certainly going to try to find another way and somewhere else where he can hang his hat.
And I have one other comment. As I remember, the last time the Register reported the results of an evaluation of both hospitals, St. Andrews Hospital scored higher than mine.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for that input.
I think this, I had a statement when we were talking earlier today, and maybe this, I'm a PFA, I'm allowed to say these things and not sound elitist, but isn't the Booth Bay region different from the rest of Lincoln County?
Yes.
Do we need the exact same services as the rest of Lincoln County? No disrespect to Lincoln County, but if you remove the two peninsulas from Lincoln County, it's a very different county. And this peninsula probably does rate different services. I think that's why we have top of the line fire departments. I think that's why Booth Bay Harbor has a police department. They're definitely not of the scale to have a police department. Why is that emergency department, a healthcare emergency department, a different aspect?
And another simile,
A lot of those questions answered when we get to it.
And I'm just saying what I've heard, so. And I probably don't rate to state that, I haven't been there long. So.
another comparison is the towns that choose to tax themselves more heavily so that they can have better schools.
Kind of like Southwood?
Possibly, yeah. But, and then in some places, the state will come in and demand redistribution of the money so that everyone will have a fair chance at an education. You know, if you choose to pay more for something.
I'd like to have us recap all of our objectives for the next meeting, which will be at 7 p.m. in this room next Tuesday.
Tuesday next.
Tuesday, September 4.
I'll remember. I'm going to write down the date.
I'll just ask my wife, she'll remember.
Shoot.
Yes, dear.
In recapping what we discussed this evening, that we're looking forward to our next meeting, we're asking for a 6-month stay from Lincoln County Health on the closure of the St. Andrews ER, so that the deadline would extend from April of 2013 to October of 2013. 1A, we're contacting a healthcare attorney. Jim will have a 12 o'clock meeting with him tomorrow via phone conference. We're going to have all the info requests put together in a spreadsheet.
Maybe not tomorrow.
Soon. We'll have all the skill set inventory put together, and we'll set up some work groups. One that would work with Representative McDonald, one that would work with the Boothby Region Ambulance Service, one that would work with the Lincoln County Healthcare Transition Team, one that would work with Lincoln County
Regional plan.
Thank you, I drew a blank. And with Mary Ellen Barnes, and one that would look at the economic impact of the closure of St. Andrews and the changes that have been made. Maybe we can change. And the next meeting will be next Tuesday here in the office at 7 p.m.
Chuck, could I just say one thing on the community hospital? The first 2 tasks to me would be somebody who could help look at the ER rooms in the 2 small hospitals that I've talked about, possibly 3. Help me get in touch with them and look at how they operate. And the second thing is I've got their charter documents that were done by the legislature that shows how they're run and governed, and I need somebody to help look at those, tease them apart, come back and talk to the group about how they're run and what we might look forward to if we go down there.
Sounds like at a minimum you're looking for a lawyer and a medical professional.
A medical person with experience who could take in the information on the ER rooms would be good. I don't know if we need a lawyer to look at the charter documents, but that would be helpful if our lawyer could. And or anybody who's, looked at any kind of incorporated documents would be good.
Representative McDonald, can I share the documents that you have so that I can put them to, what I'm trying to do is centralize everything.
I'll send them to you.
And then if anybody has any information that they've brought up in any kind of form, if you can get it to me, I'm going to try to centralize all the information that we have and digitize it, and so that we can kind of keep it nice and tidy. That's what I get paid to do. So, additionally, if you haven't put your information on the sign-in form, we'd like to have it. It's voluntary. Whatever information you'd like to give, please give it to me so that we can inventory it. And we want to know what skill sets you have. We want to know what you can offer to these. And we'll try to keep the information that you give us as confidential as possible, but once again, it's a public document.
Could I recommend that we also maybe volunteer for, go back to our inventory, where we put our names down and volunteer for any of the work groups that we want to?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I'll put this at the front table if anybody wants to add any information to it. And if you don't want to wait in line, Town of Boothbay, town manager at townofboothbay.org, P.O. Box 106, Boothbay, 633-2051. I'm not gonna give out my cell phone number, but most everybody already knows it.
Yes.
Ma'am?
It's a little late, but with all we have to do to get all the information we need, and as nice as they have been from Lincoln County tonight, could we make it 10 months instead of 6?
I'll aim for the moon, but.
Let's ask if we couldn't do that.
Okay, I would like the moon.
Sharon. I just want a hospital.
Yeah.
Amen.
So our negotiation would go to the extent of a full-service hospital.
Before we close this session of the task force, I'd ask if any member has anything they'd like to say.
You're all looking at me.
No, just looking down the table, it's the polite thing to do.
No, I think we summed it up great.
Okay.
No, I will say the economic, I mean, where we, the Regional Planning Commission, are doing some work on that too, so those two I think can help combine.
Yeah,
Look to see who
yeah,
you're
you're
working
right.
on those two.
Something we haven't really brought up, it's gonna be important, is dollars. We did talk about how people can donate to this project, but there's gotta be some funding sources for doing impact studies. Maybe we need to start.
Regional planner.
Yeah, well, I was talking to the regional planner when I was, or.
Yeah, we're talking with a couple of different organizations that I can't say too much about right now, but.
Maybe we need to reach out to DCD too, maybe there's something out there that we don't know. So.
The only thing I have left is just to thank all you people for coming out tonight and continuing to show how much you care. We hear you loud and clear, and we're going to keep working hard. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.
I move we adjourn. All in favor?
You run out and move the car.